Welcome back to Everyday Workshop, and we are back on the 1953 GMC. If you've already seen the other three videos, you know that we've gotten the cab up in the air. The engine is out right there. And all we got to do is take the trans and get it off the frame. If you haven't seen those videos, this is part 4 in the series of me restoring the 1953 GMC. Go ahead and look back. I'll put a link into the playlist down below and check them out. It'll make a lot more sense how we got here. Now, what we're going to do in today's video is we are going to strip the frame and lay some paint. Let's get started. Okay, let's get started. What I've already done here is put the eye bolt in, which I talked about in the last video. It had like a little bolt hole to be able to do that, which is going to be excellent because this thing is a fully cast iron transmission. Super heavy. I went ahead and got each of the bolts out, which basically I had to turn into an archaeologist to get that out. I mean, it was just caked all the way up. At least this one was. This one was pretty buried too. But they came out without breaking, which is really nice. Now what we're going to do is come in here and get this extension part out. Because this is a long bed, I have this extension here. Otherwise, it would just bolt straight up here to the torque tube. I already got the torque tube ready to be propped up. I haven't cleaned up anything down here yet because it's just going to just be terrible. I already knew that. So we're going to get that out, start stripping the frame, and hopefully this video lay some paint and bring it all the way up to here. So where the card actually lands is kind of nice for the cab because this is where I stopped on the back last time I did the frame, which I didn't do in the videos, but I talked about in the introduction. So we just actually have to start here and push the paint this way. All right, guys, let's get it done. Okay, before we get that extension part out, I need to pop out the linkage. Now there's just a clip here, and this is for the shifter. So the different gears, as you can see here, there you go, not as violent of a shift. So this is how I go through the gears. And then the TV rod has just a cotter pin down here. This is the throttle rod. We'll get these up and out of the way. Hopefully I can just get in your guys' way. I'd actually never seen one of those clips before. So I guess you just squeeze this, that opens up and allows it out. Hopefully you can come in, put it back on and squeeze this closed. The more you know. Okay, guys, we are ready to pull the transmission. I still have the U-joint hooked into the extension shaft here. I'm going to leave that and take it out once I pull the transmission. The reason I'm doing that is because actually I probably have to lower the tube down, then pull this forward, and then take this off just to get that out. But since I'm pulling the transmission anyways, I might as well pull it as one unit and then just disconnect it over here easily with everything out of the way. I'm hoping that I can just use this dolly and don't have to build anything specific since this will be staying in the shop and I'll need to move it around a little, but I'm still going to want it easily accessible for when we start rebuilding it. And it fits like a glove. I love that it's there. I'm happy with it. The eye bolt worked great, so I'll be able to move it around really well. Now, I don't know, I had mentioned it before. I actually rebuilt all that. All the U-joints are new, everything. So I'm going to come in and show you, obviously, my mistakes. I had never done this before, but here we go. So this is, I mean, look at the gap between the metal here. That's not supposed to be like that. You can see it move. That was all me, guys. I'm really not really sure how I messed that up that bad, but we're going to go in and fix it. It's a really, really good thing we came in here. And then also, this is on the torque tube side. So this side was on the transmission side. And over here is the torque tube side. And here is the slip yoke for that. Now, you guys can see, oh, here you go. Oh, let's do it with the finger that shows you. There is, see if we'll focus, metal in here. Now, the reason that metal is in here is because basically when you bolt the torque tube bells up to each other, so this one comes here, see where that, so those flanges bolt to here, encases it so you can fill it with fluid, and that's how it's lubricated. But you don't want it too tight, and that's why you're supposed to be using these shims here, these gasket shims. They act as a gasket and a shim at the same time. I obviously didn't put enough. It was too tight, and then it can't articulate properly, and it starts to do this. Yeah, that's pretty bad. I did hear what they call, well, it says in the book you hear a strange noise. Basically, it's like a growling noise when you're coming to a stop. I heard it. Someone else had described it being that. I hoped it wasn't me making it wrong. I knew we were going to be taking it apart anyways, so I waited. And that is exactly what happened. Pretty bummed about that, guys, but that's on me. So at least we're in here. We can clean it up and we can fix it. And I'm not going to hide my mistakes, so don't do that. Don't over-tighten that, or make sure your shims are right. When we put it all together, I'll go through it in how to do it properly. Even though I did it wrong, we're going to try it again, and we'll get it right. Fortunately, I'm going to need new U-joints. Though that one is probably shot because it's been wiggling around. And here, I lost the needles to one of the cups. So when I was taking it out, it has these needles, like a modern U-joint. The original ones that came on that actually aren't like that. But these I got from Chev of the 40s, and they're like an upgraded version. They come with the needles to make it obviously better. But all my needles fell out of this cup when I was taking it. So a whole lot of losses here, guys. But nothing's ruined. Everything's fixable. And lessons have been learned. What else can you do? All right. I'll put that away. We'll wheel this out of the way. And I'll probably put you on time lapse. And I'm going to come through and just start stripping. Okay, guys, there it is. The frame is completely stripped. Looks good. I don't see any issues with the frame. Crossmember looks good. I mean, besides just being completely caked in grease. Oh, man, this thing has leaked since day one, and no one did anything about it, I'll tell you that. All that I have left is the brake line that I had running from the back, which I put in. That's that NICOP stuff with the stainless steel guard. And there he goes. I'm actually going to put all that in again, but I'm probably going to take that out and that one out because it was a 3/16, and I want to upgrade it to a 1/4 inch. If anybody knows what this is, tell me. It's like a pad that I left here. I think it was for the cab. I'm really not sure. Probably have to see where that rubbed. But if you do know what it is, go ahead and comment below and help me out there. All that's left here is to strip the front. Now, before we do that, though, I am going to be putting a disc brake conversion on this truck. Don't worry, guys. I'm keeping the straight axle. I'm keeping it as stock as I can, but I would like to stop a little better, especially if I'm going to be driving this on the highway, which we definitely will be. And highway is definitely an option because I have those 355 gears in the rear diff. And go and check out the introduction video where I explain everything I've already done. So we will be needing to stop a little quicker. So the disc brake kit that I have, which goes into a dual master cylinder, utilizes the hubs already on the truck. So I need to take the drum off and hub, and then also I need to take the backing plate off the spindle. And it's easier to do that while it's still in the chassis. But obviously I can't use these dollies here. So my idea is to take my jack stands and weld them to my dollies and then place them on the frame. That way I still have mobility. Again, I need to be able to move around in the shop as best as I can. I even have my little jack stand for the torque tube on wheels also. So let's get started with that. I'd say it came out pretty well. See, I'll show you the good bead. I'm still practicing. Came out pretty good. I was just going to tack weld it, but I figured might as well practice. You know, I'll show you the ones that aren't so great. And penetration is pretty solid. Let's see, there you go. So that's way, way more secure than it needs to be. What do they say? It's only a bad idea if it doesn't work. Let's see. Hey. How about death trap, huh? Oh, it does move. You guys see that? The one over here on, say, the passenger side. Oh, yeah. So I have to be careful. Static load will be fine. When moving, it has to be very, very careful. Now, granted, these will only be used when the frame is empty. So really light. I could probably pick the front of the frame up once the front suspension is off. Probably could do it now. Yeah, no, when the front suspension is off. Now, when I redid the rear diff, I did all the brakes back there, but what I did do already is I put these caps on, and I also upgraded the bearings. So these have needle bearings in it already, or roller bearings, I should say. Now I put electric tape on this, and it's starting to look like it might have not been the best idea. Because without the electric tape, these just slide in and out. There's no grab to it. So what I think I'm going to do this time around is kind of dimple the inside to hold it on. But we'll see. Because those are the caps that are supposed to go on it. And I couldn't find a cap to fit, so that may be the route we go. So it's all new cotter pin already and a new castle nut. But again, I have more stuff for the disc brake conversion, so it's going to get everything new again. I was trying to avoid that. Damn it. Now, so like I said, brand new roller bearings. We'll just have to clean them out. So for the disc brake conversion, and I'll show you guys later when I do it, but you just pop these rivets out from what I understand and detach the hub from the drum, and then you bolt it to the disc brakes. I'm just going to get these 4 bolts out and leave all of the brake parts where they are. I guess the footage keeps cutting out, but my memory card's getting full. So I just popped the cotter pins out and then took the capsule nuts off, and then it just separates all the way through like this. And one thing is these actually have spacers here, so don't drop them like I did. Just so don't lose track of them. They go right here in between the backing plate. And then you should be able to just yank it off. Bam. And that way I can keep it all together. And there you have it, completely done. And the kingpins are actually really good on this one. I think the other side's a little bit loose, but we'll check it out. But we'll be replacing the kingpins anyways. But I'm pretty happy with that. Which means it's probably not all worn out or hollowed out. But look at these. Look at these springs though. So I'm going to be replacing them, but you can tell right in here, see how they're not touching? It's because they're actually arched the other way now. When it's got a load on it, the spring actually arches in the opposite direction. So they're pretty clapped out, but I do have new leaf springs also. All right, I'm going to go ahead and knock out the other side off camera, and we'll get back to you. All right, guys, I popped off the other side, so now we have both the spindles stripped, and that automatically drops out our tie rod and our drag link. But if you guys can tell, let's see, hold on. Let me get it up here for you. This is what I was talking about. You can see it's got a nice bow in it. Kind of comes, let's see if we can bring it this way. Not the easiest thing to do with one hand. There you go. Kind of bows out. And then right about here, it kind of has like an S bow to it. But this was a problem in these trucks. It's well known. So I did go ahead and pick up a hardened steel one, which is just aftermarket. They sell them. And then I have the new style tie rod ends and drag link. So we will be replacing most of that. Only thing we'll be keeping are those. All right, guys. It is almost fully stripped. Now, with all of that out of the way, with the spindle strip, I was just going to pull the suspension, but might as well just take it the rest of the way because all we have to do is pop off the U-bolts, and then spindle will drop out. The axle will drop out, and then we'll get to the leaf springs. So these are pretty clapped out. I mean, all the suspension in here was. I didn't even show you guys the shocks, but that's not doing any kind of shock thing. It's completely collapsed. And this one, over time, eventually popped back out, but watch. And then just stays. So even though it took a little bit to get it down, it slowly comes back up. The valving's all shot in it. And I'm actually really happy to hear that because I was hoping that some of the upgrades I do really do help with the driving. It does kind of drive like a tractor, and I'm okay with, like I said, we're sticking with the straight axle. I'm not changing much that way, but knowing that it will improve is a big plus. All right, let's go ahead and get started and get this axle out. Okay, since I already have new U-bolts, I'm going ahead and cut these. I'm going to cut them here, and then when the axle's down, I'm just going to take a punch and hammer them through the bottom. I think it'll be a lot easier because I think it's also rusted up here at the top. So just, and you guys can see that. That's how rusted out it was. Done. Cool. Well, there you guys have it. The leaf springs are out. I was recording it on time lapse, but it didn't record, I guess. No big deal. I just popped the bolts out over there and knocked the shackles out. And this bolt in the back, all it does is screw in, if you're not familiar. But you can see how worn it, there it is. Focus, focus. There it is. You can see how worn that bolt is. So it's a good thing we're replacing it. All I need to do is pop out the Bushings here. Keep forgetting what everything's called right now. I'm tired. And that's it. That is a frame. Look at that thing. Ready to go. And then all the hard part starts. Actually trying to degrease that, derust it, and then we will be spraying it up. Compressor over here, my whole HVLP setup. So we'll be doing all that. Tonight though, I'm going to bed. I'll see you guys bright and early tomorrow. All right, actually it's a couple days later and I was reviewing some of that footage and man was I tired. You know I'm tired when I can't pronounce a single thing for like the last half of that video. But here we are. I've cleaned up a little bit, and just a little, because we are going to destroy everything stripping this frame. But before we do that, like I talked about before, let's go ahead and pop out those bushings, and what I have is a tool for that. This is what I picked up. It's a ball joint service kit. I got it from Harbor Freight, like I get a lot of my stuff, or half my stuff, because it, you know, they allow a normal guy to get some affordable tools. And if you're not familiar with it, all it is a giant C-clamp that is strong enough to be kind of used as a press. And then it comes with a bunch of attachments and bushings, I think these are called. I have no idea. So we'll take this over there and we'll use it to push those out. I've actually used this on the back. I had to get my own because I used my uncle's. But the recommendation actually came from a guy on oldgmctrucks.com. Check them out. They're a great resource for these old GMC trucks. All right, let's get it done. Okay, so like I said, it's just basically a C-clamp. And what we're gonna do is just push on it this way, and why I'm choosing this end is because it's solid. Well, this is the side with the grease zerk. Now, this is the part for the shackle. The bushing is actually what this screws into, but it's kind of rusted to it, which is fine because we're gonna use it to be able to push that bushing out. And hopefully it comes out. Yeah, and it's completely rusted in there, but worked like a charm. Bore looks really good. All right, guys, they are out. Worked out pretty good, and as you can see, rusted solid. You saw me using sockets and spacers to get it through the hole, and also it wouldn't stay on there because that just was slipping right off, but got it going. Now, we're gonna get to just stripping the frame right now. And what I'll be using is just the basic stuff. A grinder, I got a couple attachments for that. And we'll be using my surfacing tool. I'm really not sure how this is gonna work for that. I haven't used it to do that before. So I have this drum that's well used on another project. So I picked up another one. This is the cheapy off-brand. And I'm hoping that one works because to buy that brand is like 50 bucks for one of these or something from like Eastwood. So I'm hoping this was gonna work for like 25 bucks. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay guys, quick tip. What I like to do before I create like a dirty job where I'm creating a lot of dust, paint, anything that's gonna have debris flying all over the place, I like to take these, and what these are really cheap cargo bars. I get them from Harbor Freight. And I will take some plastic so I can kind of protect stuff. Now this is really cheap plastic. I wouldn't use it for actually taking off or painting, but it's great for just keeping debris off everything. Okay, that took entirely way too long. Okay, and then I take two sides, so each one's a corner, and I tape the corner together, overlapping them, and we'll deal with that later. Take another piece, and just tape to the top. Quite simple. And this one barely fits, but it does extend all the way out. Hopefully I'm not off camera. You guys see me? Just like that, and then the plastic just drapes down. And then it ends up looking like that. Now it's not perfect, there's a bunch of gaps, but I just want to keep down as much as I can on all the debris getting everywhere. Now also I'll be using an exhaust fan, which you can kind of see right there. I use it for dust for woodworking. It's perfect for, you know, rust and stuff. And then it just shoots out the top of the garage since it's open and kind of exhausts that way. All right guys, I'll put you on time lapse and let's get this frame clean. Using my wire wheel and just the whole sheet dropped down. I don't know if I caught it on time lapse, but that's what I get for trying to be lazy. All right, we got a new plastic wall up. Let's go ahead and finish this. Man, this is a lot of work. Let's get at it. Okay guys, oh man, have I made a mess. What you saw me do towards the end was pull out the sandblasting gun, this little spot sandblasting gun. I use it from time to time. I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest. It is good for getting some of those hard to reach areas, like right here. And then I cut a video of me doing this. I'll show you right now. And as you can see, it really helps get out the areas that are hard to hit with a wire wheel. Now, what I was using it on, and the reason that I even brought it out, was this is severely pitted. Let me see. So this is severely pitted. I was kind of surprised because it had a lot of grease, but then the grease must have held in a lot of moisture. I was trying to get out a lot of the pits, but the grease is too caked on, and I'm using a finer dust. So I'm gonna have to come through and really pick out all the grease and then just, you know, come spot sand the pitted areas. Doesn't look like there's any breakthrough. There's no pitting on the bottom, so I think we'll be okay, but this is the biggest trouble area on the frame I found. Everything else looks really good. Bit of pitting here, but came out great. And see, so I was doing the spot sanding and spot sandblasting, like in those hard to reach areas. I wanted to get out all of that stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and clean the shop up and finish out. I'll bring you back when the frame looks a lot better. All right, let's get it done. And we're back inside. Man, I was trying to clean the frame in here. I was trying to avoid taking it out there and pressure washing it because, as you see, I do not have a yard. So I didn't want to bother the neighbors, but we figured it out. We found a good time and I took it out there and got it pressure washed. The grease was just way out of control. I had to put a bunch of degreaser on it, get out there and pressure wash the heck out of it. But the frame looks good now, and the best part is we actually got the backside that had a bunch of dirt and stuff on it from previous videos if you saw it, so that's all cleaned up now too. We're actually to the point, we're ready to lay some primer. Also guys, I don't know if you can see, but the shop is a lot cleaner. Man, that was probably the messiest job I've ever had to do, but we're past it and ready to do something else. Let me bring you in and see what our problems are now. What we're dealing with here is like what I was talking about before, where I was trying to sandblast this, as you can see in here, but I thought this was like grease buildup I was dealing with. It's actually like scale. So this is all just metal flakes that were coming off. So what we need to do is come in. I'm going to use the air hammer. A needle scaler would be the thing to do with this, but I don't have one. I'm just going to try to chip away what I can, and then we'll just seal it off with the rust encapsulator we're going to use. But the frame, I don't know, it's about 1/8 of an inch thick, and at the lowest point of the pits, I think we only get as low as about 1/16 of an inch. So the integrity of the cross member is still there, but it's a good thing we got in there because I think we saved it in time. Other than that, guys, check it out. I mean, I think it looks fantastic. Got everything done. Everything is degreased. All of the grease is out of here. I did already come in and hit it again because obviously the pressure washer put a lot of surface rust. Went and wire wheeled it again. And we're back here. Look how clean the back frame looks. And I'm going to come in and Scotch-Brite this and we'll tie it all in. Now let's go ahead and see if we can get a little bit more of this off. And that's how it came out. Not bad. All the dark spots are where we actually flaked off some of that scale. And that way we can get rid of that and we're not worried about trapping anything behind it, and we're able to seal it off with the rust encapsulator. And a few more things we got to do. I need to get out this last rivet here, which is where the running board bracket was hooked up that had broken off. Now, I was going to show you that real quick. The best way to take this out is with an air hammer. I don't know if you know anybody that's dealt with these rivets know that they're a pain in the butt because they're factory put in. So I just grind the head off, even if I'm taking it off, but the head's already here. And I just take an air hammer and I just knock it out. It makes it extremely easy using this one. Simple as, and done. Pops it straight out. Making it super simple. Now, what we need to do is those bushings that we pushed out earlier, we need to put them back in. And I want to do it before we paint so I don't mess up the paint. And basically that's what we were messing with if you haven't seen these before. So this just screws into the bushing and obviously comes out the other end. So we need to push these into each one. And again, like I said, I want to do that before we paint so I'm not messing up the paint with that ball joint press. All right, let's get it done. Okay, now I have done this before because it's the same ones for the shackles in the rear. Now what I like to do is just take the bushing and coat it in anti-seize, basically so it doesn't rust in, but also to help grease it on the way in. And that is way too much. All right. There we go. Oh yeah, perfect. It starts and then it has those little bites right here. What I'm gonna do is take this and then the taper fits perfectly there. Oh, actually I probably should start from the others. No, we could do it this way. And then press it back in the way we took it off. Wipe that off. Perfect. As you can see on the other side, done. And done. All right, now we're getting to the point to clean the frame and rust encapsulate it. So what we're gonna do is degrease it, and I love using this stuff. It's like $1.50, cleans really well, and my local store sells it. And then to get any chemical residue off, I'll use a little bit of the carb cleaner, and then we'll hit it with the Eastwood Rust Encapsulator Platinum. Now, this is what I used for the back of it. The only downside to this stuff is it works really well, but it takes 4 hours to dry before you're supposed to top coat it. And the one time I didn't listen to it, it definitely bleeds through into the top coat, so you do need to listen to that. All right, guys, let's get this done. Frame is clean, I'm so happy with it. When I was wiping, we got a little bit of red, but that's the rust, no black from a grease or anything. So I'm happy to lay down some rust encapsulator now. I got the paint booth up. Now let me go ahead and show you what we're going to use, and we'll start laying some paint. All right, guys, it is time to get it in the paint, into the rust encapsulator. I'm so excited to see how this frame is going to turn out. I've been dealing with this frame for 3 days, waiting for this end result. Now, this is only going to be the rust encapsulator, so it's actually a really like silver metallic, almost aluminum look. But I will take how that's going to turn out, better than the rusty frame we've been looking at. Now, I've already been shaking this like crazy. And there it is. And what I'm using is the Finish Line by Bliss. I actually have all the tips for this. This is going to be the 1.3 because this is really thin. And then I use the Spectrum Universal system. I really like this system. It's only like $8 for the adapter, and then it's basically 3M's old setup that Harbor Freight sells now. It's actually really nice. So it has the liner, the screen. It's perfect. There we go. Simple as that. Okay, good morning, guys. It is the next day, and holy crap, does this frame look good. It almost has like that Model T hot rod look to it. Oh man, I love it. Kind of just throw the cat back on, leave the fenders off, just expose this beautiful metallic silver. Oh man. I'm really happy with the way it came out, guys. And what I love about this is this stuff is super durable. I put 2 thick coats on. You can't even scratch the paint. It's awesome. You see how all that pitting turned out. I mean, it's not pretty, but it's nice and sealed up now, so we don't have to worry about it. Oh, I'm so stoked. And what we get to do today is lay down some black on it, just to get it to match the back, and it's gonna look gorgeous. Because you needed 4 hours for this to dry, so I left it overnight, and you get a 48-hour recoat window. So we're gonna go ahead and throw that on today. All right, let's get started. You know, one thing that I didn't do, you know, filming and trying to do this is actually kind of difficult. You've actually probably heard other people talk about it, but one thing I didn't do yesterday when I was putting the rust encapsulator in here was I didn't screen it, and that came back to bite me. I actually ended up clogging the gun and having to just pull it all apart and re-clean it. It was a good time. So we will be screening it. Anyone that saw me not screen it and is thinking I should be doing that, you guys are right. But I have it, we will do that, and what we're using is the Extreme Chassis Black, also by Eastwood, made in good USA. The reason I'm using this because it top coats really well with the rust encapsulator, so I know that'll bond well. Only downside, I wish I would have got the 2K. They do have a 2-part chassis black. I should have got that. But when I bought this like a year ago, I didn't have my HVLP set up then, so no big deal though. Let me get some gloves on because my hands are already, you know, unrecognizable as they are, so let's not make it worse. And this stuff on the actual label, it says it does come pre-thin, so you can see it is super thin. And they recommend a 1.3 tip, which is what I'm using. Alright guys, there it is, the frame all done. Check it out. I think it looks fantastic. The new paint blends really well into the old paint. Can't even tell any sort of transition. And the sheen looks really good, except maybe a little bit of dry spray here, but you know, we're not going to worry about that. I think this Eastwood chassis black paint leaves a nice sheen to it. Looks really good, and it's still scratch resistant. Especially with the rust encapsulator underneath, I have no worries about this frame, guys. But if you are going to spray like I did, I think next time I would use the 2K chassis black. It's a nice urethane base. And that's actually what I'm going to use for the firewall and probably the inner fenders, guys. Now, all of this you see here is not dirt, that is paint. I should have covered the floor, but I didn't. So I got all that to deal with, but we'll deal with it later. You can see I scuffed a little area here. It will clean up later, but we'll worry about that once this gets along because we still have to lay paint on that and everything else. All right, guys, and now we have a base to build up the chassis and really start this project from the bottom up. So next video, we will be putting the suspension on, the axle, and making this look like a truck again. I want to say thank you to all the new subscribers, all the support I've gotten on Facebook and Instagram. Do check me out on Instagram. It's Everyday Workshop, and I'll put a link into that in the description. And again, guys, just thank you for following along, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.